We're really sorry, we're not going to be able to celebrate Sew Saturday in the same way this year, with lots of visitors, sewing and cake. Instead, hopefully you've picked up your elephant pack, and now I'm going to show you how to put it together. You'll need some paper scissors to cut out your template. You'll need some pins to pin your template to your fabric. And then some fabric scissors to cut around the outside. When you've finished that, take your pins out and you now have two elephants, front and a back, and simply place them together and repin around the edge. You can leave your elephant pinned. If you want to tack it, you can do, but I'm quite happy to sew with pins, but remember, don't sew over them. So I'm going to start at his back, and I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch or 6 millimeters inside the outside edge. To make it a bit easier, I've moved my needle so that the edge of the foot and the needle are 6 millimeters apart. So I'm going to do a little reverse stitch, so 3 stitches forward and then 3 stitches back, and now I'm going to sew around the outside. Some places you'll need to just wiggle it a bit to make sure you get a nice smooth edge. Don't expect to be able to turn the fabric quick enough when it's such a small design. When you get to the base of the trunk here, stop and pivot. Just do a little stitch across and work your way around. Otherwise it'll be really difficult to turn such a tight corner. Continue all the way around until you get to the other end. So I've sewn all the way around, but I've left a gap here so that I can turn him through and stuff him. Before you turn him through, you'll need to make a few little snips into the outside edge so that it'll be nice and smooth when it's turned round. A little V here and here. And a little snip there. And there. Wherever there's a curve, you want to think about putting in a little V or a snip. Don't go so close you're going to cut the stitches, but close enough to make it smooth. When you've done all your snips, turn him through and use something like the back of a pencil that's not got any sharp points on it to push through the shape. When you've got him all turned through, then you can start filling with your polyester stuffing. If you can't get toy stuffing, a pillow or a cushion, and what's in there would be fine to use. So if you fill the awkward bits first, then it's much easier. So if I stuff this into his front legs here, and I'll take a little piece and put this into his trunk. And once I've got those awkward parts done, then I can fill up the rest of his body much more easily. I'm just using the pencil again to push the stuffing into place. And you'll find that if there's any little awkward angles on his outside edge, these should smooth out when you get the filling in place. So when you've finished filling him up with stuffing, all we need to do is close up this gap. So there's a lovely little stitch we can do for this. You just need a needle and some matching thread. Anchor your thread at one end of the gap, and I'm just doing little stitches on either side of the gap. And that will create a series of little ladder stitches. And then when you pull them together, it'll look like an invisible join. So sew up the whole gap that way, and then secure your threads at the end. When you get to the end, just do 2 or 3 stitches on top of itself, so it's nice and secure, and leave your needle on the thread. To make a tail, you need a little bit of wool or embroidery thread. I'm just wrapping it around my fingers. I'm going to place that where I've still got my needle attached and do a few stitches. Finish it off and snip. And then just cut his tail. I think an elephant's tail is quite short, so there's your elephant's tail. If you separate your threads, you want 3 strands. And I'm going to put this onto the needle. And then I'm going to sew the eye in place. I'm using this as a guide so I know roughly where it's going to be. Work out where you want the eyes to go, and then with your black thread bring the needle into the right place and just do a few stitches in position to mark his eyes. You can make them as big or as small as you like. Be adventurous. And then work through from one side to the other side. When you're finished, just take the thread somewhere else and pull it through and snip the thread there. Use the template to cut out 2 ears, and the guide here will show you roughly where they need to go. I'm just going to place my ear there, and then you just need a few stitches down here to hold it in place. I'm using white thread so you can see what I'm doing, but you can choose a better colour match and it'll be hidden. just a little running stitch down the front edge, and then the ears will flap. Finish it off at the bottom, and repeat on the other side.